Well, hey YouTube, Petey Twofinger here. I noticed that Ola, he's a guitar channel, had done a review of the Zoom G4 or the X4, whatever is the new Zoom that people seem to really like that. Now, I haven't tried that one out yet. I would be interested in trying it. My opinion on it is that they've kind of crippled it a little bit, where like with their mid-range model, often they'll make it so like you get a taste of it, but to really use everything that's there, you need to buy the flagship model because that you'll run out of processing power, or they'll have some features that aren't available. Now the interesting thing about the Zoom, the G line, meaning the g10n, the g10x, the G3, the G3X, and the G5, they all use the same models. So they really kind of crippled the G3. No one was buying it. The G3 is not the G3N. The G3N is what's available now. I'm talking about the last model that has the actual stop switch on it, where the G3N has little pad switches. And I heard that they really crippled that, the G3N. And initially the G3 was crippled as well. Now they released a firmware update for that, firmware version 2. And when I purchased my G3, it was no surprise to me. It was firmware version 1. And they really limited you. They limited it to 3 effects at once, which is just crazy because this gives you 6. And it's $50. The G3 is like $200. So there's 100 effects. There's 22 or 26 amp and cabinet models. And while you have to make your own presets with this, there isn't an editor. There's a librarian available for this. But you have to manually do the editing, which it edits a joy. It's a joy to edit with. I'm very familiar with how to edit this unit, and I would recommend it. But if you're looking for something a little bit more serious, the G3 is really the one you want. Get yourself a used Zoom G3 and make sure you update it to firmware version 2 and custom make your own patches. Now, the thing with any modeler is running it through a guitar amp, you're not really going to be doing yourself the best service, because what you really need is a full range speaker, meaning a studio monitor or a PA speaker, something that has a tweeter and a woofer, at least 2 drivers. Some of them have 3. They'll have like a tweeter and then a mid-range speaker and then the bass woofer. Anything that's not a guitar speaker. These, you think, oh, this is a guitar pedal, you run it through a guitar amp. No, they just don't sound good. And that's why a lot of people hate on modeling, is because they don't realize they're doing it wrong. And then they go, they'll buy one of these things, they bring it home, they don't make any custom patches, and the patches that come from the factory all show off their pristine digital delays and their flangers and stuff. So it's just like they plug this thing into their stack, and for one, they're not really getting good tone out of it because you can't plug it into a stack. You can. There's modes on here for stack, but they don't sound as good as when you run it through a full range speaker. So for me, I have a little, like a Bluetooth radio here that I run it through for like bedroom level practicing. And then we have it's an M Audio BX5 monitor. And when I play along with drum files and my wife plays the bass, we have a little mixer and we both go through that, just that little monitor. And gee, I'll tell you, it sounds fantastic. Now for live use, I have Class D amps that power PA speakers, and I go direct to PA speakers, and this sounds quite a bit better than what it did when I was trying to run it through guitar speakers and add a tweeter, because initially I was just running the stuff through guitar speakers and EQing it, and then I found that if I added a tweeter it would sound a lot better. So you get something like a bullet tweeter that's high wattage, and then I would use a little crossover because you really need that. So a lot of times, like, I would build the crossover into the box that held the tweeter, and how I would wire it is so you would have a 1/4 inch cable coming out of the power amp in to this tweeter, and then the woofer would go, there would be another output jack, and you would run a little patch speaker cable from the tweeter chassis down to the woofer. Or I would build it into the main speaker cabinet and done it that way too. So running just the guitar speakers, no, don't do that. I understand you why you say you hate modeling if that's what you're doing. At least have a tweeter. At least have a tweeter. And really, for the best sound, don't even use a guitar speaker. I know this sounds funky, but you got to trust me on this one. A full range speaker is just going to make it sound a lot better. And that's why we have all these angry people shaking their fists saying how much this thing sucks and how much you're a bedroom player and you're a little kid. When I'm a 50, I'm an old guy that's been doing this. I started playing guitar when I was a kid. I wasn't 15 when I started playing guitar. I was younger. And I've been doing this a long time. So you would think that I would know a little bit about what sounds good and what sounds mediocre, and that this hasn't been a compromise for me. This has been really good tone. Even this cheap $50 one. Now you have to make your own presets, and that's what I wanted to talk to you about today. I was going to go through a couple of my favorite presets. I've got to have a patch cable here to plug this in. Let me just plug this one in here. Okay, so the first one I'll give you is my standard. This is just a high gain modern metal tone. So we use the ZNR, which is the zoom noise reduction, and that's going to be, you set that just so it shuts off the noise. And basically, the way you set that up, there is a threshold. So anywhere between 10 and 20 should shut you up. And there's also a detect switch. We want to have that set to guitar in for that to function properly. The second thing is something called air, which is a real tight delay. Size is going to be 3 with our tone set at 8. Mix is 20. And then the second page, reflections is 5, level is 100, and tail is off. You're not going to have much of a tail on a 3 millisecond delay. The distortion box is called the Zoom 9002 Zoom 9002 lead distortion. We have that set at the gain at 26, tone at 40, and level at 100. And then we have the Revo 1 amplifier, which is a modern, 43 for the gain, 80 for the tube, 100 for the level. Treble is 70, mid-range is 50, bass is 67, presence is 69, and the cab is the Alien cab. Now, we also have output being line in. And there is an additional effect on that that's muted. It's a tiled room, and that would give you even more of a slapback effect. Probably not the best. So that's a modern high gain patch, and I will play that for you in a minute. Now, one of my favorite ones, this is my go-to patch for a dirty guitar sound, and I guess you would call this high gain as well. This one, we call this Baby Lemonade. It's got a, I play that Sid Barrett song with a dirty guitar. It's got the ZNR. Then there's the overdrive, which is set at 65 for the gain, tone at 71, level 100. There's a Univibe in there that I turn that on and off depending on the song. But the settings on that Univibe are speed 20, depth 60, bias 50, wave 24, mode, chorus, and level 100. But I have that bypassed right now. Now the amp is a Tangerine amp, 64 for the gain, 65 for the tube, 100 for the level, 65 treble, middle, 55 bass, 45 presence, 60. And then we have the cabinet is the Tangerine with the line out setting. And last but not least, there is a stereo delay. So the left time is 500, the right time is 250, the mix is at 50, left channel feedback is at 50, right channel feedback is 37, level 100. And then the last page, right and left, level 100 with the tails on. So I'll give you one more. Here's one, Surf Jerks. We have the booster, 60, 50, and 100, level, tone, and volume. Then the spring reverb at 22, 21, 58 with a level of 100. And it's the deluxe reverb amp set at gain of 50, tube at 70, level 100, treble 50, middle 45, bass 50, presence 45, and the cabinet uses the deluxe reverb 1x12 with a line out setting. That's called Surf Jerks. Last but not least, Dudes. This is a Penelope Spheris movie with Flea in it, and there was a punk rock riff in there, pop punk, just a rockish thing that I stole and named that Dudes because I wasn't aware, I didn't check the soundtrack until later. So I heard that riff and we wrote a piece around that called Dudes, which later, a lot later, I felt weird about a song called Dudes with a Z. So I changed it to be called Bucket Brigade Boogie in G. Much safer title. Anyway, the Dudes patch is the ZNR. And then we have the ZMP1. This is a tube high gain distortion. Gain is 33, tone is 39, level is 100. Alien amp, 40 gain, tube 31, level 100. 60, 58, and 44 for the treble, mid-range, and bass. That's 60, 58, 44. Last page we have presence at 61. The cabinet is the Alien 4x12 and it's combo power amp output. A little different on the output. And then there is a filter delay, time 5, feedback 50, mix 45, rate 1, depth 100, resonance 8, level 100, tail off. And then there's a hall reverb, decay 10, tone 5, mix 46, pre-delay 49, level 100. And I really like that Dudes patch. So here do you guys want to hear it? I would recommend you just go through this video, grab a pencil and paper, and write down the numbers that I give you, and then go back and program it off the sheet of paper, That's the Dudes. You know what? I get this hum when I film from the light that I use, which normally I don't have that. This is the that's that surf patch. And then here we have probably should have tuned it. And then that's that first high gain patch that I gave you. So there you go. The Zoom G1 can be found for, they were selling them for $50 new. They go for about the same price used. But if you can find one of those things cheap, I recommend it. I really like the way that all of the models sound in that entire line. I use the G3 for my live performances, so if you're familiar with my tone, you know about what that thing sounds like. Now that's just my, I went through it and programmed that, so I'm sure you would have a different way of doing it and coax some different sounds out of it. But what I like about the unit is everything. It sounds, like the pods and the older modeling stuff, like some of it was it just really didn't sound that good, or it sounded too over the top a lot of time. And you weren't getting like real natural sounding guitar models. This thing I think does a good job of that. And it's easy to program and easy to get it to sound good. Now I'm not sure about the newer one. I'm guessing it probably is an improvement on this. Like if I got it, I probably would like it even better. I'm guessing the models sound even better. I'm just a little bit scared because they don't have a second tier model that I know of, or do they? I don't know. I'd be waiting for them to come out with the one that you can have all 5 of the patches full with the most advanced tricked out sounds, and it wouldn't run out of processing power. Because I believe that's an issue with the Zoom 4. Now that's, who's going to use all that stuff in one patch? Well, you never know. It's nice to have all that power. Is it necessary? Well, probably not. That's the thing with this. I found that the amps I was getting a lot of really pleasant sounding distortion from the amps, where it wasn't so much the pedals, which is really cool. And I like the way those amp metals sound. So I do recommend the Zoom stuff. They had a reputation of being kind of crappy, cheaper stuff, and for good reason, because their distortions were horrible back in the day. But they've come a long way, and I'm interested to seeing what comes next from Zoom, because we're guitarists. We have that thing about buying gear and improving our rig, and it's also that it motivates me to write music. Anyway, you guys, check out Ola's review of the new Zoom, the 4, whatever it's called, and let me know what you think, especially if you've checked out these patches. I'd love to hear some feedback from you. If it's positive, if you hated my tones, you don't need to leave a comment. Or if you changed them a real lot, it's not really my thing then. But yeah, how about that tangerine amp model, that orange amp model? Sounds good. I like that one. All right, you guys.